everybody, Alyssa from Headliner here, and today I'm going to be walking you through quickly how to use Eddy by Headliner. Eddy by Headliner is Headliner's free transcript-based editor. To access Eddy from your Headliner account, all you'll need to do is visit make.headliner.app and then click on this pink Transcribe audio or video button. At this point, you should be seeing a screen that looks an awful lot like this one, and this is what we call the Eddy dashboard. So Eddy, like I said, it is a transcript-based editor that handles both audio and video really well. But what's super cool about Eddy is you get all of these lovely, what we call context-aware marketing assets. These assets are going to be found via the promo pack, and we'll get in how to use and find the promo pack here in a second. But anyways, once you're here in Eddy, you have a few different options that you can pull. So if you have specifically more of an audio show, you can set up an Eddy automation, and this is going to give you an accurate transcript as well as giving you all of those context-aware assets via the promo pack. However, if you have a video show or you are going to need to edit your transcript ahead of time, you're going to want to create a manual transcription using this create a single transcription on the right-hand side. Both of these processes look really similar, and I will quickly show you how to do both. So for automations, you'll go ahead and click Get Started, and then you'll just really go ahead and type in your show. So I will go ahead and type in our test podcast, as I already have one set up for the Headliner podcast. And then you're going to need to go ahead and select the language. Eddy is available in over 100 different languages. To do so, just click on this dropdown and find the language in which you are recording in. Once you've done that, you'll go ahead and click Continue with this language. And then at this juncture, there's a few different levers you can pull. So if you want your project named, you can go ahead and toggle this on. For automations, I would actually go ahead and recommend toggling this off, as it's going to go ahead and dynamically pull in that show title for you already. So you don't necessarily need to have this one toggled on at this juncture. And another really cool thing that I do want to shout out is that Eddy actually goes ahead and names every single file, correlating back to your actual project name. So you can ensure that all of your files that you download are going to be SEO optimized. Next is adding chapters. So especially if you're going to want to be uploading this as an audiogram to YouTube, I would actually recommend leaving this on, as it will go ahead and kind of chunk up your recording and add chapters into the show notes of your podcast in the promo pack. Next is filler words. Again, as this is going to be kind of post-recording, I would actually recommend leaving this off, so it's going to be true to your actual recording and kind of reflect and better line up with that via the transcript, as again, this has been already recorded and published. Then personalizing to your podcast, I would definitely recommend toggling this on. This is going to ensure that the podcast promo pack is going to actually reflect your existing style and branding that is going to kind of show up in your podcast metadata via your RSS feed. And once you've got all of the levers you want pulled on, then you're just going to go ahead and click continue with these settings. And then at this point, you can kind of go ahead and pick your starting point. So for past and future episodes, this is going to be going through your back catalog. So say you have hundreds of episodes that you need to get through, this is going to be the best way to kind of get all of those episodes transcribed and optimized so you can get them up onto YouTube or kind of further repurpose that content down the line. You also have the option to go ahead and do future episodes, so this will kind of start at your most recent recording and then continue on for the life of your podcast. So it just really depends on your starting point. I believe I only have one episode in our test podcast, so it doesn't really matter for me much, but I'll go ahead and click past. So in theory, had I had hundreds of episodes in my back catalog, Headliner would go ahead and automatically create transcriptions and the promo pack for all of my recordings. And then kind of similarly, we're going to have the create a single transcription. So go ahead and quickly run through that as well. And here you can already start to see we have a lot of different levers you can pull. So you can import in from Google Drive, connect to from your Zoom account, pull in videos using a YouTube share link. So this is going to be our loved YouTube ingestion. Of course, you can manually upload from your computer, or you can search for podcast, once again, using the search function. I am going to go ahead and do a video podcast, however, and we primarily use Google Drive to share all of ours. So this feels like a podcast episode right here, episode 9. Again, we record in English, so I'll go ahead and continue with that language. But I'm going to go ahead and leave all of these on as this episode is not technically published yet. So I'm going to want to be able to add my intro and outro and do all sorts of nifty things there. I do want to go ahead and change out the podcast personalization though to match the actual headliner podcast, as there are a lot more episodes within that and more data for Eddy to work with when creating my promo pack. So there we go. That's switched out, and then I'll go ahead and click continue with these settings. And Eddy is pretty fast. We do say that this takes about the third of the length of the audio. However, you can definitely speed that process up by toggling more of those things off in the previous step. But I won't make you sit here and wait, so we'll go ahead and do something that we've already transcribed. So you can see this is actually so let's go ahead and scroll down, and here's a video podcast. Actually, here's the exact podcast that I just went ahead and tried to process. So you can see right here, you're going to be able to tell if something is a video podcast or an audio podcast based on the thumbnailing. So you can see here, video, we've got this lovely little landscape guy. You can see myself and my co-host Nicholas's face. And then we also have the default audio emblem for the audio shows. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the actual file that I'm going to want to edit. And this is already going to be a previously edited project, so we can just kind of quickly run through the highlights of what Eddy can do. So you can see here that I went ahead and I added my intro and outro in Eddy, and I had my chapters toggled on, so you can see that Eddy went ahead and automatically added in those chapters to kind of make it a little bit more readable, break it up, and then of course reflect those back into my show notes. I also have my AI filler words toggled on, so Eddy went ahead and removed all of these what have yous, but say I wanted to undo that, so I just would click on the word, undo that, and now we can see is back in. And then similarly, to go ahead and scrub out a word or edit it out, we'll just go ahead and click on it, click on this little edit guy, backspace, and correct, and you can actually see that it was stricken from the transcript itself. So it is cleaned out of the transcript, and then it is also wiped out of the corresponding video file that we have over here. And say I wanted to do a little bit more polishing, so I didn't really love how this was cut off. You can go ahead and kind of trim your selection, and then you'll see we have a very simple waveform editor, so you can kind of make a little bit more granular modifications to really ensure that that is polished and doesn't have kind of like one of those aggressive jump cuts in your audio. And then say I wanted to add in a chapter, so Headliner did a great job, it went ahead and added those in, but I want to chunk it up a little bit more. So at any point you can click into the transcript, add this little button, and then you can add a speaker or a chapter. By adding a chapter, you will be required to actually go ahead and write that in. We also have the ability for you to add chapter art, so especially if you're going to be creating an audiogram, this is awesome, as this is going to kind of dynamically pull in those chapter arts to make it a little bit more engaging of an audiogram. And then of course, if you have chapter links via Podcast 2.0, you can drop them in here as well. And that is the basics of editing with Headliner. It's pretty easy. You can really click in anywhere, just like you would a Word doc, and make those changes accordingly. And next we'll get into the podcast promo pack, which is personally my favorite part of Eddy, by clicking on either this export button or this little headliner icon down here in the bottom. But in the promo pack, you have access to all of these wonderful, again, what we call context-aware marketing assets. So you'll see here we have show notes and YouTube descriptions, episode art, keywords, social copy, quotes, references, newsletter copy, and blog post copy. And to use or review them, you can just simply click into it. So you can see here, we've got a nicely formatted show notes. You can adjust things as you see fit. So this is going to be a pro feature available to our pro account holders. You can edit things such as the length, the tone, or excuse me, the formality, and then the tone as well. And you can kind of give it instructions. Again, give it those instructions to better edit and polish your actual show notes and YouTube descriptions, and then click regenerate. And just kind of going down the line here, you can review all of these. Super easy for you to just go ahead and copy or download as a text file. Again, all sorts of awesome marketing assets here that you can kind of use and that you can kind of just use to really grow your podcast. And then, of course, you can go ahead and export either video or audio from your video files. Should you have an audio file that you would transcribe, this will actually be replaced with an audiogram button, so you'll be able to create a full-length audiogram from your any Eddy project. But this is truly it. Eddy, super easy, awesome tool for you to help kind of get your podcast up onto YouTube, reuse it as social media content, what have you. Again, Eddy comes with all Headliner accounts, so it is free to access. Of course, there are the different upgrade points, such as the promo pack regeneration, that come with all pro accounts, so it is kind of bundled within your Headliner subscription. But I do believe that's about it. We did a pretty thorough walkthrough of Eddy, but I think we covered all of the bases here. But should you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section down below, or of course email us at support@headliner.app. As always, thank you so much for watching, and happy podcasting.